So we've met 10 minutes ago, Craig, and
Yeah.
I already can understand that you're not the type of guy to slow down. Like you've got lots of energy.
I got a lot more. Like I said, man, I turned 69 last week. I sure don't feel it. In my head, I'm still that 18-year-old kid in front of the mirror. Like that reel you put up this morning.
Yeah.
With that one dude.
Yeah.
You know,
Gordy, I believe.
Yeah, Gordy. Now, you know, when I was like in grade school, right, the rest of my friends are outside like playing army or playing baseball. I'm sitting there with a little pocket transistor radio trying to figure out how to play Born to Be Wild on my $14 Wards guitar that my dad got for me.
Nice.
That's what I was doing when I was like in grade school.
Wow.
You know, because I wanted to be a rock star.
It's pretty interesting. So I've had a couple of different guests that have come on, and you know, I've had quite a few guests that have come on, but there's some people. I can't remember who it was that said this. It might have been John Stunner Magnuson, who said something to the fact that some people they have the music in them. They literally cannot do anything else with a lot of their free time. You know, it's just what they need to do in order to fill that void that they have.
I've always said it's a blessing and it's a curse because you can't shut it off. I'll be like writing a lyric at 2:00 in the morning in bed, trying to go to sleep, and the music keeps going around and around and around and looping. And it's like, I'll get up like all of a sudden, grab a piece of paper, got a lyric, cool. I can go back to sleep.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not kidding. If you're really cursed with it, see, both my parents played several different instruments. So like bloodline wise,
Okay.
you know, I can play, you know, guitar, keys, bass, a little bit of drums, hardly, you know, but it just was kind of just came out of me, you know, and it's like this thing I can't stop it.
Tell me more about your. Well, first of all, let's start at the beginning, right? I'm rolling on everything. We're diving into this thing. We're already having a great conversation and going for it. But who the hell are you?
Well, I'm Craig Hecht. I've been around here forever, you know, but I record as Craig Allen Hecht primarily.
Okay.
All my serious music comes out under Craig Allen Hecht, but I've also recorded as Brain Hammer, Screwdrivers to Ears, The Weenies, Texan Betty, Sea Rage and the Icebox Studios All-Stars, Gurn Blanston and the Funky Muffins, The Blast Holes. I just released this track today, Mustafa El Kabong.
That's what I was listening to.
Who is
you
the
just released it today?
Yes, this morning. It just
wow.
dropped off my brand new EP called Nook.
Mustafa's brand new. Huh?
He's the shredder of the Sahara. The Sheik of Shriek, the shredder of the Sahara, something else. But anyway, that dropped this morning. The Contemptibles, who were a 1950s doo-wop group. DJ Beef Supreme, who was this really horrible DJ. And then Magnus the Melodramatic. And then the last one is the Amazing Marcel, who is a mime. So I dropped a song by the Amazing Marcel, and it's 30 seconds of nothing. Because I figured, you're a mime. You can't talk. I dropped a track with 30 seconds of nothing. I'm waiting for people to go, wait a minute, man. I can't hear this when I play this MP3. Well, dude, he's a mime, you know? So I dropped that one. So yeah, I record under all those names.
Oh, wow. What time signature is the mime in?
I never thought. I just pushed record and did nothing, you know? So
that's wild.
So that's what I'm doing now, you know? But yeah, the story to get where I am now is quite interesting. I made a few notes.
That's great, man. I mean,
yeah.
You've done your study as well. You've watched a lot of the podcasts, which I very much appreciate. So you kind of know the flow.
It's like I said, the first when we first met here today, the first one I saw was with, I know her as Beth Norris from Sugar Buzz, and she spoke about how you used to play the Richfield American Legion. Well, my band, the Express Band at the time, we used to play the Legion as well. So that's where we kind of first ran into each other. I think there was like a benefit or something there at the Legion we did, like for 4th of July, if I remember right. And it was like an afternoon thing. And Sugar Buzz played, and we played. And there was T-shirts made up for the event. I still have mine in my closet. The thing's got to be 25 years old, you know.
And it has both bands on it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But yeah, I've known Sugar Buzz forever. But like I said, you know, I've never really met them face to face except for Mark, the keyboard player. He's like an acquaintance, you know, super nice guy. But otherwise, I've never really gone out and met Beth. I probably should do that sometime next time I go out and see him, you know, but I'm definitely aware of her. But that's the first time I saw your podcast was Beth is on. And I go, well, she can go on there. I'll go on there and too and talk about the Express Band, you know,
nice.
So I can do that. But anyway, the story, you know, it's kind of long and convoluted, but I started playing ukulele at 5. My dad taught me. He was a guitarist. He played shows in the St. Paul Clown Club back in the day. They used to go to hospitals and entertain the kids and stuff. My dad was an acoustic guitar player and sang all these corny songs and stuff. And he got me into playing guitar when I was like 5. And Mom played guitar and keyboards. We had one of those big Lowry organs in our living room, so they started me on keys as well. So I was doing all that starting like about 5, and then jumping around time-wise, I got in my first cover band at age 19, and that was called The Companions. And that band was Roxy Hall, who is pretty famous around the metro right now for the Roxy Hall Band. She plays at Minnesota Music Cafe once a month.
Okay.
She has this fantastic all-female band. They're kind of funk, horn-fronted, horn-heavy.
Huh.
And so I
Do you know the name of the band?
Hmm?
Do you know the name of the band?
Yeah, the Roxy Hall Band.
Oh, you did mention that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Not a problem, man.
That
But
sounds
anyway,
great.
So that's where I first started playing, and I used to play at, it was Weber's Supper Club in North St. Paul, which is a bowling alley. And it's so funny because I had met one of the girls in the band. Her name was Julie at this Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor when I was a kid. It was my first job out of high school. I was 19. And she was like a line cook or something, and I was a dishwasher or something. We started talking music, and she goes, "Oh, our guitar player's going to quit our band. Would you want to maybe try out for us?" So I went to the bowling alley, and they handed me this one girl's Telecaster, and I did what was it? I did "Wild Thing" by Jimi Hendrix, and tore the place down because they were doing like, oh my God, back to the 50s music, and Neil Diamond and all this just really hokey, corny stuff, So I came up there and just kind of laid some heavier stuff on them, and they hired me on the spot. So I worked with the Companions for a while, and then I went through a few other variety bands, a lot of country western stuff like that. And then I joined the Express Band in 1992. Who are still playing to this day.
92.
92.
Wow.
And I played guitar with the Express for 21 years. I was a guitar player. And they still exist to this day, and they're incredible. Just love those guys. They're one of the best local bands I've seen. And then but it was all covers. There was no originals. In the background though, I had bought a small recording studio back in the early 80s. I had a 4-track cassette deck, a drum machine, a synthesizer, a bass, a guitar, and one microphone. So I started learning how to record kind of on my own. So I was always recording at the same time, like it's a hobby. I wouldn't bring my originals to the band because that wasn't what we were supposed to do. It was a cover band, and that was the whole idea. But anyway, I retired from live performance in 2013. And that's when I was playing with Express. We used to play a club called Arizona's down by the racetrack, down by Canterbury Downs, quite a bit. And I started having this thing where my hand would start cramping up. I go for a solo on something, and I come around and boom, it lock like this, and it'd get like really, it would hurt down here, like tendonitis. And I couldn't get this I'd start smacking it against the guitar neck. Like, come on, man, I got a solo to do, and nothing would happen. So finally I said, well, hey guys, I guess I got to bow out, So that happened then. And so that's 2013. Then in 2014, I actually started doing more recording work. I met my great friend Scott Halverson. His wife worked with my wife for the state of Minnesota. They met at work, obviously, and then she said, "Well, my husband likes music, and her husband did as well." We kind of met blindly, and we kind of had the same interest music-wise. But he was a classically trained acoustic guitar player, nylon string. And I was a heavy metal guy, I was like into Slayer and that kind of stuff, So we got together in my little studio at the 4-track and started writing. And we came up with this 2-man band called The Third Bridge. And it was just a 2-man recording project. And
why The Third Bridge? Where'd that come from?
People have asked me that forever and ever, because the bridge that Scott had to drive across was the 3rd Street Bridge downtown St. Paul to get to my house. It was a third bridge.
I see.
People have all these cosmic connections.
Yeah, wow.
It's the 3rd bridge, man.
Could have gone anywhere, but
it was a bridge.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
but anyway, we started writing a lot of stuff together at the time, and one of my first pretend bands came from that. It was a band called Brain Hammer that we had both started before we did the Third Bridge thing. And the idea of it was, it had a whole backstory. It was a black metal band from Norway that played death metal. And they decided that they wanted to move to the Americas, and to make a big splash here, they wanted to record heavy metal versions of Christmas songs. So they recorded an album called Christmas in Hell. And it was just the two of us. But I had this horrible, German accent, that kind of thing. And it's a bunch of noise, We did like Silent Night and Jingle Bells. And it came out on cassette only. And we put it in a couple local record stores. It was sold like a couple hundred copies of it. It was just for fun, just comedy, So that Brainhammer was the first pretend band I ever did, on top of all these other bands I mentioned previously. I did that with Scott. And then Third Bridge was more a real serious project. It was more like a 60s psychedelia type thing. And we did that until 2016. Scott passed. He had a battle with cancer, and I lost him. And then I was on my own, obviously, with the writing side of things. Now, he was our lyricist, so I had probably another 10 songs worth of words of his after he had passed. So I decided to continue as Third Bridge and to keep going. So I released the rest of those songs as Third Bridge. I just came up with music to them myself and just recorded everything and put it all out. And it was at the same time, story all kind of like piggybacks onto itself here. In 2013 and 14, there with Third Bridge, we discovered a radio station out of Birmingham, England at the time, called XRP Radio. And they were concentrated on independent and unsigned artists. And we had submitted our music to them, and they loved us. They really enjoyed what we did. So they started playing us a lot, because Scott was our social media guy. He was the guy on Twitter. He was the guy, connecting with everybody. I was the guy in the studio, like the mad scientist, banging on instruments and synthesizers and whatnot. So, I got hooked up with XRP. And like I said, I've been with them now since 2014. And now I have a podcast I do with them on Wednesday nights, which comes out here in the U.S. I think it's like, we're like 3:30 to 5:30 or something local CST time. But we talk about, it's called the Craig and Tiz Show. My partner's name is Tiz Shearer. He runs XRP Radio. And we talk about production tips, writing tips, how to get gigs, how to promote your band, stuff like that. And like, it's a weekly show, and we do that every Wednesday night. It's a live stream basically, but it goes out everywhere, Twitch and all that type of thing. So yeah, that kind of brings me to the fake band thing. And it really comes down to, I was trying to get like a record deal. Everybody wants to get a record deal, obviously, when you're starting out. And I figured, well, the problem with this is, record labels want to classify you. They want to put you in a box. I'm a funk guy. I'm a rock guy. I'm a country artist. But playing in cover bands all those years really exposed me to a lot of different styles of music. I could play country, I could play polka, I could play jazz, I could play funk, I could play metal. I thought, well, I'm going to invent other bands and just like totally different personas and just release all this stuff just as other people to see what happens. So I'm up to like 13 bands now. And at the same time, like right around that 13, 14, 2013, 2014 period there, I invented Icebox Studios, which is my pretend record label.
Okay.
So all these artists are signed to Icebox Studios.
Aha.
And it's also where I record is Icebox Studios. It's Icebox Studios because it's in the basement of my house. It's about 25 degrees. I got heaters everywhere. It's bad down there, man. It's cold. So that's why it's Icebox. But so that's what I've been doing now, and I've been doing very well. Like I'm on Reverb Nation. I am on Bandcamp. Then of course, I use DistroKid to get worldwide distribution. So I've got like Spotify and all that type of thing. So anyway, yeah, that's as far as the story goes.
Well, that's a pretty good opener.
I just kind of started blabbing,
That's a pretty good opener. Yeah. So now we know who you are. We know quite a bit about what you've been up to through the years. So,
yes.
What are obviously your mom and your dad were big into music and part of your early influences, but how about like music you were listening to that influenced you early?
Beatles. See, back when I was a little kid, we used to go for drives in the car. People used to do that, like Sunday drives, just go. And they had AM radio back then. And I was in the back seat just soaking everything up that they'd play. And it was like, back then, AM radio was like Motown. But then you had like early Beatles, early Stones, you know, a lot of that stuff, a lot of the psychedelia, that type of thing, you know. So when I was a kid, yeah, I started out with Beatles, Stones. Then as I got older, The Who was huge for me. A lot of classic rock. I played in a lot of basement bands back in high school that never really had a gig, never got out of the basement. But that back then it was all like Deep Purple, Alice Cooper, Grand Funk, you know, Pink Floyd. Then like in '73, you know, I got the first Aerosmith album, the first Queen album, the first God, who else came out and started? The Ramones. You know, I came up through punk and glam metal, you know, Bowie, all that kind of stuff, you know. So I kind of like started like at the very grassroots of it and kind of evolved. But I was listening to all this stuff and taking little bits and pieces of everything. So I'm kind of like this big conglomeration style-wise of all this music I've come up with.
Yeah.
Kiss was huge for me, you know, a lot of that stuff.
Take me through all those great influences and name a couple songs that still kind of stop you in your tracks.
Oh man, All Right Now by Free. If that thing
what about it?
If that thing doesn't hook you in the first 2 seconds, you got no pulse. You know, I mean, because there's all that sense of, I mean, as a drummer, you get that solid beat, and all the cool thing about that song is there's so much just dead air between the beats. A lot of times for me, music isn't about what you're hitting; it's the spaces between notes.
Sure,
it's the silences, because that emphasizes, you know, the guitar chords and stuff. Let it breathe a little bit. It's not to be like all 110% all the time. Let it kind of ebb and flow. Like a good song should do that. But All Right Now for sure. Oh man, what else? God, there's so much stuff. There's so much music. I discovered Yes in high school. I got into prog. Then you're talking like Yes, Gentle Giant. Oh my gosh, there was so much stuff. All this, you know, Brit prog stuff that I was into, you know, and still am now. You know, so I'm just kind of like this big contemporary bands. There's a band called King's X that have been around. A lot of musicians know who they are, but they never got the commercial success they deserved. But their guitar player, Ty Tabor, is one of my heroes. I mean, I got a chance to meet them. They were touring behind their first debut album and playing this crappy little club on the east side of St. Paul. And there was nobody in there, but they were touring. And they like, their equipment was all kind of ramshackled and everything, you know. But my God, the sound they got was just incredible. The 3-part harmonies and stuff, really Beatle-y, but a lot of power. But then like a dial it back, a lot of dynamic. They clean it up, then slam you in the head and then bring it back a little bit. You know, it was really cool, you know. But them, I'm almost going into influences now. Sorry. Brian May from Queen is one of my heroes guitar-wise. I just, one of the comparisons I get, thank you so much to everybody out there, I get talked about in the same breath as Alex Lifeson from Rush. I'm a huge Rush guy. I mean, I couldn't hold Alex Lifeson's pick, you know, but people say, you kind of sound like Alex Lifeson sometimes. I go, that's a great compliment, you know. But yeah, like I said, Brian May. Then, of course, too, the Shredders influenced me. Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, that whole instrumental. I release quite a bit of instrumental music as well, but I go from like metal stuff to like really pretty acoustic guitar instrumental stuff, like with strings and whatnot. I'm a big fan of like Middle Eastern percussion, like not necessarily a drum kit, but like tablas or that type of thing, you know, just hand instruments. I like that kind of thing too. I like the different, what's the word I want? Combinations, I suppose.
Okay.
You know,
is that where Mustafa was born out of?
Mustafa El Kabong?
Yeah,
his new track just came out today. No, actually, a Third Bridge, back when we first started out, we used a lot of non-traditional percussion, a lot of, Middle Eastern influence, a lot of African drums, log drums, stuff like that. You know, we like to, I mean, anybody can just throw a kit in there, but I wanted to hear something different. I'm always after a different sound. I always hear something different in my head. You know, I mean, it's easy. Like I always say, you know, I mean, anybody can write a 3-chord rock tune and it's usual, you know, I lost my baby, I found my baby, that kind of, or hey dudes, let's party. I want to write about something different. I want to write about something that makes people think. I'm going to branch off again. A lot of editing going on in this podcast probably, but people tell me all the time on XRP and whatnot that I'm a story writer. I love writing stories. I have probably my biggest claim to fame as such as I wrote a rock opera called The Terror of Cluckzilla. And it's a takeoff of
Cluckzilla?
Cluckzilla, The Terror of Cluckzilla. It's a takeoff on Japanese monster movies. When I was a kid, I loved Godzilla and Rodan and Ghidorah and all that stuff. And I wanted to write a rock opera. Now it's 10 songs, 55 minutes long. It tells a story of, in Japan, a group of scientists decided that to feed people better, what if we take animals and enlarge them? I mean, you take a chicken, you can feed so many people with a chicken. You make a 400-foot tall chicken, that's a lot of food. Or a really big cow, or really big, just
Sure.
make them bigger. Well, the story of Cluckzilla is that they zap this little chicken. His name is Clucky at the time. He's this little baby. And I wrote a song about that and everything. Anyway, when they blow him up, something goes wrong with the process and he becomes intelligent and self-aware. And it's like, you guys made me into a freak, And he also has the ability to shoot lasers out of his beak because he gets mutated when he gets hit with the gamma rays, right?
Of course he does.
So of course he does. So where does he go? Tokyo. Where does every good monster go? Tokyo. So he flattens Tokyo, right? Anyway, so the government in Japan has to come up with, how do we stop this giant chicken, Cluckzilla? Well, they have a weapon of last resort. It's a giant robot named Megaton Hammer. Now, I had written a song called Megaton Hammer 5 years ago that talked about this. He was like the secret government project, like built to stop giant monsters. So I referenced him back again in this album. So it's kind of like the return of Megaton Hammer. And there's this big battle scene called the Battle of the Ages where Megaton fights Cluckzilla. And you hear the explosions in the back and people are screaming and running. The whole album has dialogue. It has sound effects. It has like movie music. I mean, it's essentially a movie for your mind, and that was the Terror of Cluckzilla. And after that, I had written a song about a guy called Captain Midnight, and it was a song called Captain Midnight and the Star of the Sea. Captain Midnight was a pirate who was seeking this. Star of the Sea was a gem that if you owned it, you had immortality. So he, sailed around the ocean trying to find this thing. But anyway, he finds it. And the second song was called Captain Midnight and the Sea of Sorrow. Now, these are both like 15-minute songs. They're huge prog tracks. Then it ends up, the third song in the trilogy was Captain Midnight meets the Pirate King. And the Pirate King says, well, here's the deal. Captain Midnight now is immortal. He already has the Star of the Sea, but he can't die. But all of his friends have died. His family's died. It's a curse to be immortal. So the Pirate King says, oh, how about this? The Kraken is guarding this one treasure that I want really bad. If you can defeat him for me, I'll relieve you of the curse of immortality. You can live to be a normal man and die like a regular person. So that's like a 15-minute song. Goes through all these different, like suites almost, an orchestral part, a metal part, an acoustic pretty part. It's just everything thrown together in this one track. So that's Captain Midnight. So I've got a lot of story songs out there. So I'm not sure if that answered your question. I kind of veered off a little bit.
Well, it sounds like at 69, you are not slowing down.
Why? Long as my hands work, my brain's still working, studio hasn't crashed on me yet,
Well, if you keep it at 25 degrees, it's never going to crash, right?
Well, that's a good point. It's a lot better in the winter time, or summertime for sure,
Well, take me back to, I guess, to your Express days and tell me some stories about, being in the band, being out, the camaraderie of it, being out playing in the clubs.
I'll tell you right now, man, the Express was family. If you can get into a band where you're just friends with the people you work with, no egos, no drama, just you really, really enjoy these people that you work with, is so great. We're still, like I said, I quit back in 2013, but we're still such great friends. We go up to Duluth twice a year together. There's 3 couples of us from the Express that still go together and we hang out. And people always said the best part of our show was the teardown. If you stuck on after the show and watched us tear down, it was hilarious. We're cracking jokes left and right, we're tearing down. See, back then, we had a dedicated sound tech and had our own lights. Nowadays, every club has their own production. When we started out, you carried all that stuff with you. We had a dedicated sound guy. We had all that kind of stuff. So it took us a while to tear down after a gig, but it was just, cracking jokes to each other, and just having a good time and whatnot. And that was cool, and it was, there was never any drama or anything, we just had such a good time. But it was so ironic because, I'm doing stuff like, cover tunes like, Ladies Night or this more Bad Girls Hot stuff, Down to Summer, it's kind of more disco-y stuff. Now, I didn't really care for that stuff, but I liked the people in my band, and I was there to entertain the crowd. I totally understood what the product was. It was a cover band, it was a party band, it was a fun band. I'd go home then listen to Rush or Cheap Trick or whatever, because that's what I really enjoyed, But I like the idea that you got to learn all these different styles of music, because I really think the more different styles you can absorb, it makes you a better player all around. You're not stuck in one lane. You're not closed to other influences, But yeah, the parties and stuff, the gigs we had, like we were talking about before we started. I mean, we used to play like the Blue Fox over in Shoreview. There were so many cars in that place. I couldn't walk into my own gig. I didn't know where to park my car because it was so packed, people coming for the party, and just a great time. The thing I really miss being on stage. I really miss that loop of feedback with the audience. You're kicking out everything. The thing about the Express, every gig, we didn't care if it was 5 people, 5,000 people. You gave them 120%. We came off that stage, we were wringing wet. We were just exhausted. But you had to give them what they came for. They wanted that, and they'd feed you the energy back. And it was this loop, and it kind of makes me feel sad. I'm probably never going to hear my original music played live, because I'm not in a position really to do that. I have a bunch of guitars in my studio. They've never left the studio. I mean, they've stayed there. I can't think of the last time I schlepped gear around. It was years ago, but I do miss the fire of a live audience, but yeah, that was our mission statement, to go out there and just kick butt, and we accomplished it every time. And they still are. Express is fantastic. They have these 2 female vocalists and they're just amazing, Their guitar player, Jeff, I am such in awe of him, because he is one of these guys where when he takes a solo, like off one of the songs, like one of the cover songs, like Journey or something, he hits the solo note for note. I mean, he has every little bit of feel, every bit of, hammer-ons, pull-offs, all that stuff. I was the kind of guy, when it came time for a solo for me doing covers, they point to me and I just fake it. Because I don't have the patience to sit there and put a record on 20,000 times and get the lead exactly the same. I don't play like that. I'm much more off the top of my head. Whatever comes out, comes out. But, the discipline that these cover bands have to pull those songs off and get them as close to the record as they can, I salute that, man. That's something I can't do.
Well, it's a big trend now getting into tribute bands. And I think when you're a tribute band, it's even more serious. Like literally there's no instrument on the stage that can ad-lib. You pretty much have to nail it, because that's what the audience is there for.
Well, of course. I mean, they want to hear the closest that original to that, group as you can get.
Absolutely.
Kind of jumping around too a little bit here. I'm currently doing a project with my friend Jim Elander, and we're doing a thing called The Ancient Ones. He's as old as I am, so we're the Ancient Ones. But we're starting to mess with.
I like how all your band names are actually inspired by something tangible and real, and not so abstract and poetic. The Ancient Ones. All right, keep going.
Anyway, but we're starting to play a little bit with AI, which I know is a huge hot button topic right now in the music industry.
It is, sure.
When I do our podcast on Wednesday, I don't know if I mentioned that yet in this conversation, but AI is a big buzzword for us. It's like, is it taking our jobs? I think if you use it as a tool, I can see it maybe. I mean, I'm not going to just tell it to write me an entire song, but if I'm stuck on a lyric, you want to kick me a word? Cool. I'll use it for that, but we're starting to mess with a bit more of this Ancient Ones thing. Is like, the sad thing about AI is your song is only as good as what you type in for a prompt.
Sure.
If you can be very, very specific about what you want to hear, it'll actually generate something interesting, But we were doing stuff like having it generate songs. I'm playing live tracks over the core, whatever the AI would, generate. It's like layering more guitars to it, or using it like kind of like a road map or a guide map, and then you're putting stuff on top of that live. I mean, I've been telling people like my Craig Hecht stuff will always be 100% human generated. I'm not gonna. To me, AI is a crutch in that respect, But the Ancient Ones thing is more like we're kind of playing with it as a toy just to see what it'll do. It's definitely interesting and it's scary because it'll just mash out a whole song. The production is there. That's got, it's like mastered already,
Mm-hmm.
and it's scary,
Hmm.
So we're kind of messing with that right now. That's what the Ancient Ones thing is. But
It's pretty neat how you give yourself permission really to kind of go all these different directions at the same time by just creating kind of a vertical, your own personal vertical, your own personal brand, and kind of go off that direction.
Yeah.
But you keep it contained there and kind of move over to this next one.
Right.
And it is what it is. So,
well, that's the cool part about it, is like the whole thing is under the Icebox Studios umbrella, right? I mean, that gives me as much creative leeway as I want. I can do anything because it all comes out under Icebox. Now, I'm sure there's people out there that look at all these bands and it hasn't dawned on them. It's all me. It's one guy. I mean, one of the bands, Gern Blanston and the Funky Muffins, she's a 14-year-old black girl. She's the lead singer. I'm Gern Blanston, but I do it in a falsetto. So you really wouldn't know it's Craig. And it's funky as all get out. I mean, it's just two tracks. One's called Toothbrush and one's called Trip Hop Doodly Doo. And you'd never know it's me. It's all this, horn section and the funky guitars and whatnot. It's cool. Clavinet, because I figured, why not? Here's the thing. Who's going to tell me I can't?
right.
I run the label.
Yeah. Right.
I'm in the bands, like the joke of it is like that Mustafa El Kabong track. We signed him to the label today. I mean, some people know and some people don't. And I'm not going to go out there and say, yeah, it's all me. I'm doing it. This is one of the things I really wanted to say today that I want people to really kind of pay attention to, especially original music. Do it for yourself. Do it because you enjoy it. Do it because it's fun. It's not about how many likes you get on social media. It's not about how many plays you got on Spotify. It's not about your statistics. It's not about your numbers. It's got to speak to you here. And if you truly enjoy what you do and you just release it to the world, other people, chances are they're going to like it too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think as artists, I think it's our job to try to entertain people, to lift them up, to make their hearts a little bit happier. That's why we do what we do, man. At least for me, I want you to listen to something I do and go, that's pretty cool. And a little smile on you. I think I think a lot of guys, they're spending all this time on their computers, worried about their promo and worried about what's my reach? What's my following? What's my fan base? Don't worry about that, man. Just do what you do, enjoy what you do, and get it out there when you can,
And that's interesting. So thank you for giving that piece of advice.
No
There was something, a couple of things you said earlier, actually. I wrote down a piece of advice that I do want you to give. So you said something about on the other podcasts that you do.
Yes.
That sometimes you talk about advice pieces, and
Yes.
how to get a gig is a great piece of advice. And I think, audience here in Minnesota specifically, like what's the strategy?
Yeah, well, the embarrassing part about this part is that it's a two-person podcast. My friend and my friend Tiz Shearer and myself. He's more the promotion guy, so he'd be the one better suited to answer that. I am the guy in the podcast. I'm the one that talks more about composition, or if you get stuck with writer's block, or if you need inspiration. He
All
is
right,
more
well,
the one that.
Tell me about that then. Like a writer's block and need more inspiration. Like what do you do? If
Walk away.
Okay.
Walk away from it. Go take a walk. See, I'm also a big video gamer. I'm a big retro gamer guy. I got a really cool game. I started with the Atari 2600, and I pretty much had everything since.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it, man. That's my other hobby. But go play some Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation or something, or just go do something else. I think you start overthinking and you start second guessing yourself if you get into a writer's block really bad. Well, maybe you feel like you need to get it finished. You don't need to do anything. It's not a time crunch. Walk away from it. But one of my big things I always say, come back with fresh ears. Sleep on it. Come back the next morning. Then play your mix. Sometimes you're going to go, oh, I didn't hear that before. Because you can put like little blinders on, right, with a song that, well, it's got to be this, and it's got to be right down the middle. No, it doesn't. Open your mind up a little bit and look at other possibilities. I've had so many happy accidents writing songs. Like I'm playing like a synthesizer thing or something. I'll hit a different button on a patch or something, and something else will come up, and I go, oh, that sound is cool. Don't be afraid to experiment. I mean, for me, I view the studio as a workshop. I have several different guitars, and my wife will tell you I might have too many. But every single guitar there is good for a certain tonality. Like I always say, there are tools in the toolbox, right? Everything in my studio is a tool in the toolbox, whether it's a synthesizer or a guitar or whatever. Certain mics have certain timbres to them and stuff. You know, I mean, try to think outside the box a little bit. Don't limit yourself. You know, like I always go back to that whole a 3-chord analogy. You know, I understand that 3 chords are catchy. If you want to write a hook and whatnot, the public is going to like that. But don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Try something a little bit different, like a diminished or a minor or something. Everything's in major. Rock and roll is all this major 3-chord stuff. No, man, try something a little bit different. You know?
Okay, so the opposite end of that scale, right? Is writer's block versus how do you contain all these different directions that something could go? Like, how do you put the boundaries on that?
A lot of times I've found that if you limit yourself and limit your options, you're more creative. Like, for example, a lot of these studios now, like these Logic Pro studios, like Apple, you've got thousands of guitar tones, 1,000 patches on your synth. How about this? Pick 5. That's it. You're limited to 5. That's all you can do. Stop at 5. Don't be browsing the rest of your day in your libraries trying to find that one certain tone. No, man, pick 5. You got to deal with that. If you can constrain your limits a little bit, it's going to make you more creative because you're not just keep thinking about, well, what's going to happen next or what's coming. You know, if you kind of dial it back a little bit, if you limit what your options are, I think it makes you more creative. I've done that. You know, it's like, I'm just going to write something with guitar, bass, and drums. That's it.
Yeah.
No keys, no synths, no orchestras. No, guitar, bass, drums. You know, Pete Townshend of The Who said back in the day in the 60s, the perfect pop song runs 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If you can say what you want to say in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, that's pretty cool. This is coming from a guy who writes 14-minute long songs. You know, so I'm the wrong guy to really say that, but it's true. You know, I think you have to know what you want to write. I mean, with all these different bands I have, pretend bands and everything else and the different styles I do, before I sit down, I'll kind of storyboard in my head. What do I want this to sound like? What's the subject matter first off? I tend to write songs off of titles. I'll have a really cool title will hit me. I'll write it down. And I'll go back and write a song to that title. But I try to storyboard it first. Like, well, is it going to be guitar, bass, drums? How many singers? How many guys in this band? You know, I got bands that got 6, 8 guys in them. Some got a 3-piece. You know, try to limit yourself or see your vision first before you just get in the studio and start flailing. You know, you start throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Try to have a game plan. When I did Cluckzilla, that rock opera album, I storyboarded that thing like on a whiteboard for like 6 months before I wrote a note. Here's the story. Here's how it's going to go. Here's what I want the moods to sound like. Don't be afraid to set a mood. Don't be afraid about atmospherics. You know, get a certain tone into your songs. You want them mysterious or bright or, you know, try to really good music. So that's think like a soundtrack, that type of thing. You know, I mean, it depends obviously what kind of thing your band is doing. You know, if you're a 3-chord, you know, slam band, well, of course, the atmospherics go out the window. But it's a matter of what kind of music you're doing. You know, if any of that makes any sense.
It does, actually. I mean, it lines up really well with your different personas that you've created as well, because you're kind of giving yourself a persona. Then you're thinking about, okay, let's put some limits on this thing because you can absolutely get into it with all these tools that are available and really just get lost.
Yeah. Now, it's so funny. Like, some of the most popular stuff I've ever written was the stuff that was written as a joke or a lark. You know, my number 1 most played song on Spotify is something called Heavy Metal Polka, where I thought, how funny would that be to get like a regular, you know, but put like, you know, slam chords behind it. And I wrote this thing called Heavy Metal Polka, and it's about, you know, the dead are going to rise and all this. And the chorus is actually, you know what ain't no joka, let's do the heavy metal polka, which is about the stupidest, corny thing you can ever. But it's all about, you know, zombies doing the polka in hell, and they're eating people and all. And people love that song, man. So after that one, I wrote Heavy Metal Cowboy, which was a country western track, you know, ding, 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 ding. And all of a sudden on the chorus, there's just, you know, hammering, you know, like Slayer, you know. And that worked as well. Because, see, one of my great joys in life is to take different types of music that should not work together at all and mash them up. I mean, mashups are a thing now. But when I started doing it, I just thought, can you make it work? You know? I mean, Yeah, I've always enjoyed doing that. Taking things that should not work at all and just slamming them together.
Well, people love to be surprised, right?
They do. They do. That's like I said, it goes back to the whole thing about my studio being like a big laboratory. For me, what can I do? What can I do next? And it's so funny. I don't know about anybody else out there, but sometimes after I finish a song, I feel like I'm drained. It's like, well, I have nothing else to give because I put so much effort into what I just did. And it's like, I'll kind of, sulk around the house and I was like, oh, man, there's no music in my head. Now what am I supposed to do? Because to me, the music defines what I am. Because at this point in my life, I'm pretty much just music. It's what I do. It's what
So
I
what
live.
do you do at sulking times? You eat a whole pizza or?
No, sorry, man. I'm on a diet. I can't. I just lost 75 pounds, so it's not going to be happening.
Good for you. Good for
Thanks,
you.
man. But I just go watch TV and movies or something, And you know what? Music, God, somebody said to me once, I was complaining about not having any music in my head, and they said the coolest thing. They said, music will never let you down. It will always be there for you. Especially somebody like you that is so, it's in your blood. It'll come back. Don't worry. Just let it rest. And sure as heck, you'll be like, just in the guitar, with the guitar downstairs, just noodling, and all of a sudden some little riff will pop out and you go, hey, this might be something. I have a whole list of little audio files on my phone, just taking the note-taking thing in a little microphone and just pop it in front of an amp and, oh, cool, record that. Then I'll go back to those little pieces and string them together and make bigger things out of them. But yeah, you feel really empty after you knock something off like that. It's like, oh, now what am I supposed to do? It's like when I quit the Express band, I just had this feeling of, well, now what do I do? Because my band defined me. That's what I did. I entertained people. I was a cover band guy. It's like, now what do I do? What am I going to find this just as rewarding as that? And I've come up with it, with the Icebox Studios thing. I love it. I'm having the best time doing what I'm doing. Like I say, yeah, sure, I miss playing live and everything, but, I get to go downstairs and flip all these switches and everything and see what happens, so it's kind of cool.
See, you mentioned how tight you were with other members of the Express band, even to the point that you still go, to Duluth with them now, which is fantastic. Not every band's like that. Right. So talk to me a little bit about like that. How important is it in your mind for you to be able to forge kind of that beyond the stage relationships with your fellow band members?
I really think that if you get that tight, I think there's a certain amount of musical telepathy that happens. When you work with people like that long and you get to know each other that well, like if your drummer, like you know where he's going to go, where he's going to get there, or vice versa. He knows what guitar riff I'm going to hit before, and he starts accenting everything. I think as you get to be more tight as a unit, professionally and especially personally, you start to know that person's mind and how they think, especially musically. It's going to make you better off band-wise because you're going to start to anticipate each other. If the whole band thinks like one big unit, that's cool. Some bands, it's a job. You show up, you unpack your acts, okay, man, see you next week. You get it and you go, we used to do stuff like after we got done tearing down, we go find the nearest, Perkins or something to get breakfast at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and just, talk about the gig and whatnot. But yeah, I think the closer you can get personally, and not just professionally, you start to read each other's minds a bit more. I think it's more of that cohesive feel to what a band's doing. Now, of course, I really can't speak on how it is nowadays because I haven't played, the Express band for me was magic. I think it was a once in a lifetime combination of people that had ability, talent, and were just really, really good people, and I don't think that we had lightning in a bottle, and you don't get that too often, and that's why for me to spend all that time in that band, I'm so proud of that time, because that was some of the most creative stuff I've ever done. It was such a bunch of nice people, and like I say, go check them out, man. They're still playing and you'll see. It's just,
I think I may have seen them at one point in time. So we moved here in 2013. I think we may have seen them once or twice out and about. So
yeah.
But it sounds like it would have been after you were in the band.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, yep. But yeah, that's helpful at all. I think you get that camaraderie together and stuff. I think it really helps.
So earlier you talked a little bit about you're creating some stuff with AI. So what I found quite interesting, right, is that you were talking about also waking up in the middle of the night, with these crazy ideas.
Yes.
And you've got 13 different aliases under which you're creating different
Yep.
music. So it sounds like you might also be one of those guys that's training AI, in a sense, because you're coming up with
Where
so
it's
many
sampling
different
me?
ideas and moving different directions. Well, no, I mean, I'm maybe not you specifically, but just kind of like in a theoretical sort of way, right? Because AI has to be trained on original creation, right?
Yes.
And the human original creation is never really going to go away.
Could well be. Could well be. I mean, there's been talk about that. It does sample other people's stuff to make what it does.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I suppose inadvertently, I could be feeding the machine. Isn't that ironic?
Isn't that ironic?
It
right?
really is. Like I said, obviously, I think of it more as a toy or a gimmick. I don't think it's going to last. I really don't.
Really?
I really don't. AI is making it so anybody can say, write a song for my kid's birthday party. Return. But already I think Spotify and stuff are talking about algorithms that are going to detect AI. But the thing is, it's getting smart.
Yeah.
The stuff it's doing now compared to last year, the rhythms feel a lot more human now. Like somebody's actually plucking the strings. You didn't get that a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's learning. It's morphing,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we're never going to be out of work. AI is never going to replace one guy with an acoustic guitar singing his heart out, talking about his love or someone he's lost. Let's see AI top that. Can't do it. It's never going to do it. It's not going to replace heart.
Music comes a lot from experience, right?
Of course it
being able
does.
to create that story is because you've lived that story or you can believe that story.
And a good
at the very
songwriter
least.
can help other people can listen to what they're writing and go, oh yeah, I felt that too. Or yeah, it's like you're singing to me. That's what it's all about, that connection. AI is never going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's ones and zeros, man. It's just, input in, output out, it's just, I can't see it happening. I'm not too worried about it, because, being an old guy, I went through the whole thing too. Well, if bands use backing tracks now, is that cheating? That's something we talked about on this podcast I do as well. Is that fake? Because one thing I'll tell you, in the Twin Cities area, you could never find a keyboard player. If you're a keyboard player, God bless you, because you're in demand, man. We could never find a good, we got
Why
lucky.
my band started playing with tracks because we couldn't find
Because
a
you
keyboard
can't find
player.
a keyboard
Yeah.
player. Nobody can get them, So I totally get it, but it's like I said, back in my day, we did everything. Back in the day, it sounds like a fossil, but, but yeah, back then everything had to be played and replicated live, and it's so much rarer now. But I totally get that, if you have the guitar, bass, drums, and a good solid core, and you want those keys to come in and kind of add some frosting to it, backing tracks, I guess, is the way to go. Especially, like I said, if you can't find anybody, what are you going to do? You want to go out and play,
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a real ethical thing with that for a while. It's like, especially the big bands, the major acts. You go out and watch the Eagles or something. Well, how's he singing that so good when he's 73 years old? He steps away from the mic and his vocal's still going. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What's happening there?
Yeah.
Technology now really aids bands so much in the live setting.
Yeah.
Whether it's, all the pedals that do instant harmony or thicken up your vocals, stuff like that. The technology is really coming to the forefront. I would say back in the day, it was how good your guitar player was and your drummer and your bass player. You just went out and it was all live, 100%. So now it's, but I'm not one to really talk because I always tell people what I do in my studio. Obviously, I'm aided by technology. I'm one guy, but I come out sounding like a 5-6 piece band. Well, I couldn't do that without the gear I have, obviously, and the apps I use. I use a bit of looping, like I think we spoke before we started the interview here. My drums are all loops. I have a program where I can just take sections of drum, drop them into a timeline. Sometimes I'll cheat and have 2 different drum tracks going at the same time. But if they line up really kind of cool, like a happy accident, I'll have 2 drummers. Sure. Why not? I know about that, but they don't know unless they're watching me do it, So,
Right.
But yeah, technology is cool for sure. It definitely gives us more possibility, more range, but don't abuse it. If you start abusing technology, you're going to start sounding cold and manufactured. And music isn't about that.
All right. So another debate that is quite popular right now in the music scene is having the iPad or the phone holder up there.
That drove me nuts first time I saw it.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because I prided myself. Is that a word? Prouded myself? Whatever.
Works for me.
You know, because my kids would say to me, Dad, how did you memorize all those songs from all those? And I still can do it. You know, you got the lyrics, you memorized all the songs, you went out and did. The first time I saw that, I go, you cheater. Come on, man, you're just going to read it off of an iPad. But nowadays, people have an iPad because they're triggering, like different effects, or they're doing their light rig or something, or it's all sequenced. They're using like Ableton or something and dropping just different sequence tracks behind them. So I get that. The iPad isn't always just lyrics. But yeah, the first time I'm like, come on, man. Like, what a cheat, Because that was the thing. It was bad enough you had to learn all the music, but then get all the lyrics too. I think everybody's had the one where you're doing a song. And the thing is, if you start thinking about what you're singing, you're screwed. If you're thinking about your laundry list or something, your grocery store list, and it's just coming out of you, because you're not thinking. The second you stop and think about what's coming out of your mouth, uh-oh, now what am I supposed to do? Yeah,
sure.
The drummer starts shouting the lyrics to you from behind you. It's like when I first discovered people using in-ear monitors, that drove me nuts. I couldn't play like that because, to me, to have regular monitors and the feel of actual moving air at you, not to mention if you want to walk over to the guy next to you and tell him he sucks, you can't hear you when you got in-ears on,
For sure.
You got to have that little bit of, what's the word I want,
That live feedback.
Yeah, that interactivity between the musicians on stage.
Sure.
In-ears, all you're hearing is your mix. And that's it. You can't walk over to the guy, hey, man, how's it going? Because he's not hearing you. He's hearing what he's getting out of the PA, so that seems kind of claustrophobic to me. I don't think I could do that. So like I say, technology has been cool.
Yeah.
And like I say, I use it as well. But just, backing tracks and stuff, I guess if I had to, I would. So yeah, there you go.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, this has been a lot of fun.
It's been a ball. Like I said, I've been watching all your podcasts, and I'm one of these people. I'm one of these late night YouTube people. So like after,
all right,
yeah, about 10 o'clock or so, I head back into my game room, and I've got the big TV back there. And fire up Minnesota Music Note and say, "Oh, who's on today?"
Awesome.
It's been really cool what you do, and I really appreciate it because. It's funny. We all seem to kind of travel in the same circles. Everybody knows somebody.
Right.
It seems like, which is just so funny. And there's so many cool people out there.
Yeah.
So thank you again for what you're doing. Bring us all together and make us aware of each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like a little fish in a really big pond.
Right.
Then sometimes you start to figure out, maybe I'm not as small of a fish as I think I am,
Sure.
A lot of other people are doing the same thing, The main thing is everybody is doing what they like and they're enjoying it,
Right.
And we're all part of one big family.
That's one of the great things about the jam specifically, right?
Yes.
Is you're out on a Wednesday night with a bunch of adults who would rather do nothing than make some music on a Wednesday night, on a school night. You know what I mean? It's just really cool. So
yeah, cool.
Get to deepen some relationships that way.
For sure, you bet.
So last question I always ask, you probably prepared for this, but who should be my next guest on the Minnesota Music Note?
I got a couple. My good friend Barry Alverman, who is the bass player in the Express Band.
Okay.
He started the band when I did. He is still the only remaining original member of the Express at this point. And he could talk about, he was a guy that did the booking and he was the organizational guy, the brains behind the Express, the guy that keeps all the engine running and whatnot. He does all the stuff that nobody else wants to do, the booking and the logistics and all that. He is the guy that keeps that band going, and he is, like I said, one of my best friends, and I'm in awe of him because, we'll talk about, he's not the kind of guy to come down to my studio and just like pop out bass tracks. He doesn't, like, off the top of his head, he can't improvise like that, but he is the guy where he will take a song the Express is working on, and he'll just drill that thing into his head time after time and just get the bass line perfect and get it and that's a talent. That's something I can't do, and I really admire him for that. My other suggestion would be, there is a guy who's played around here forever. His name is Michael Monroe, and he is an acoustic guitar. The Star Trib called him Minnesota's music guitar master. And he is one of these guys where he is one of the first people I've ever seen do live looping. And he has like his mic, so he's doing like 3-part harmonies with himself live, looping the guitar live. He plays quite a bit now at the Chanhassen, and he does this Cat Stevens tribute thing called Moonshadow. He's at the Chanhassen all the time. The Chart House he plays all the time. His original stuff when I first heard it, was so amazing. He plays nothing but acoustic guitars. He has like different, like a baritone and a 12 string and just all this really cool organic acoustic type stuff. And his voice is wonderful. And he's been around here for, oh my God, years. But he's also a friend of mine, an incredible guitarist and incredible vocalist as well. But
Sounds like a really interesting dude to meet.
yeah, he'd be great on here, man.
Awesome.
So anyway, that's my 2 picks. So
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for doing
you
that.
bet, man. It's
Appreciate
fantastic. Love being here.
Hey there, Minnesota music family. If I haven't personally reached out to you yet, consider this your 100% official invitation to join me on the Minnesota Music Note. I'm Will McLeod, co-founder of the podcast crew here in beautiful Robbinsdale, host of the show, and the guy behind the kit for the band Hits and the Misses. I started this podcast because I want to get to know the people who make our scene tick. Whether you're fronting a band, spinning hip-hop, running sound, booking shows, running shows, or teaching the next generation of talent, your story belongs here. We've had everyone from videographers to festival organizers on the mic, and we're just getting started. It doesn't matter if you're playing arenas or just making magic in your basement. If you're part of the Minnesota music community, I want to chat. Slide into my DMs or hit the email below, and let's hang out and talk shop.
Turn your face to the stars. You'll see a new day on the rise. The rays of dawn will make all things new, including you. Sunshine Fury. From the dark coldness of nothing to an island of your own. No one's ever been alone as you. On the outside looking in like you. Throw your loneliness into the fury of the sun. So turn your face to the stars. You'll see a new day on the rise. The rays